Hi, everyone. Welcome to our newest episode of Gab with Garima. I'm pretty sure this is episode number 6, although it may be number 7. We've been doing this every week, and I really appreciate all of you guys tuning in and watching us. We really, really appreciate it, and we hope that we're able to offer you some tips and tricks in business. Please feel free to always keep those comments flowing. This is super interactive. Today, I have a special guest. So last week, we did an awesome interview with Martin Drake and Tom Aronica. And this week, we actually have a special guest, Chaithanya, and he's the CEO of BPM Links, as well as several other companies that he will tell us about. He is a serial entrepreneur with so much experience, so much success, and he's going to be sharing all of his experiences today with you. And feel free to ask questions. I'm going to bring him on the screen.
Thanks,
Hey,
Garima.
Chaithanya, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Garima. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing well, thanks.
Thanks.
So, Chaithanya, a lot of people here may not know you. So if you could just tell us a little bit about you, tell us, who you are, tell us a little bit about the companies that you run. Would love to hear.
Sure, good, thanks. I'm an immigrant from India, so have bachelor's and master's in computer science. The land of opportunities has given me a lot of opportunities I could even dream of 20 years ago when I landed here. And in 2006, I started a company called Sterling 5, which was purely born out of necessity. And then by doing certain things right, that actually grew pretty large and was able to support my other dreams which I had. And 5 years ago, I started another company called BPM Links, which does more of software development, solutioning, and other good things. And then on, I was able to invest into a couple of other businesses, got my whatever I felt like I had weaknesses in me, I was able to complement with my partners whom I partner with on these new ventures. And all this kind of spun off into one thing to the other. And here I am, doing good. Thanks for all.
No, that's awesome. I mean, you've had so much success. Can you tell us a little bit about what is Sterling? I know you said that was the company that started in 2006. You said it was out of necessity. What was that necessity that brought Sterling about?
Sterling is a IT professional staffing and consulting company. So in 2006, I was single income, with the immigrants being in the situation right now. The spouses can work, but back then the spouses couldn't work, and it was only one income. I wanted to put my son to a good school in whichever city I go, and moved in a private school. And that kind of cost, started, the expenses were more than the earnings. So that triggered me to think out of box. And then I had used my core strength of being an Oracle DBA, and I started picking up mid-level, Oracle DBA guys, helping them in advanced topics, which would easily cost them tens of thousands of dollars if they go to Oracle University. And I was able to give them that knowledge, hang on to them, and vice versa. It kind of ballooned up into 100 employees by 2010, and it grew up to $15 million business. And we're still going strong with that Sterling. Now we do more than Oracle DBA. We do a lot of Java, J2E, in programming management, in Scrum Masters, BA, analysts, QA, everything to do with IT and IT consulting. So that's the Sterling in nutshell.
That's so cool. I mean, there's so many people I'm sure that are watching that are entrepreneurs, they're startups, they're wanting to follow that dream. It sounds like you've been able to do. And when you talk about building a company from nothing to being a $15 million business in such a short period of time with 100 or more employees and, really kind of diversifying that's really impressive, really exciting. We'd love to hear if you have a tip, if you had to give the entrepreneurs who are listening, if you had to give them all a tip for how to do this or something that worked for you, what would you say?
Yeah, there are some few important tips I can, which actually made me successful, so I can share that with you. So basically, understand your core strengths. So focus on one or two main core strengths of yours, and start small. You don't have to go until unless someone is giving you a huge capital. That's a different story. But when you're starting ground up with nothing, you need to start with something small, and you need to start having that quick successes, and you need to snowball those quick successes and turn them around. So that was the basic startup. But I think coming back to the core, not going It's typically what happens is in a startup or in entrepreneurship, everything looks like an opportunity for you, and you want to run after everything you see because that's a passion you built in because you want to do something. But you have to be very careful, extremely careful, I would say, because not every opportunity you look or feel is not a true opportunity. You need to take a step back, take some time, assess, understand which one are true opportunities, and go only after those subset. So that is the crucial. And once you get the rhythm going, once you get to certain level, once you have enough team, your core team, and you have some success around you, and you need to achieve some goals, then you can slowly start expanding into other areas. But my humble suggestion would be start with the core, start with what you believe in, start with what your core strengths are, because until unless you reach to certain success level, other people won't take you seriously. And once you reach to that level, and when you feel like you have the certain gravity or certain energy where your words are taken wisely, are better, then you start partnering with others, because I can tell you there are only so much I can do. There's so much more I can do with a team, and so much far more I can do with partners who are extremely smart in their own core strengths. So the partners will also start taking you seriously until unless you come up with some sort of a success. And when you express any thought or any idea, it needs to be taken well. Then only the team effort. And for my suggestion, when you go for looking for partners, always look someone different, because you don't want to have a partner who is exactly like you, because then you both of you will be same, but you won't complement each other. So you need to always have this partnership, or even the team members or a council of advisors. You need to have a very different set of people, because they will challenge you, they will question you, they'll make you think differently. That is the core of getting to that level.
Wow. I love what you talked about. Both of those points are so great, especially the ability to say no. I think that's something that we all struggle with so much, especially when you're opening a new business. I can tell you with Bill or Genie, even a year ago, we're like, oh my gosh, well, this person wants to do business with this person. And you have all of these opportunities that seem so exciting, and you feel like that's potential revenue. But the ability to really focus. And since we've started doing that, we've seen so much more momentum, just because we said, actually, we're not going to service this part of the market. We're only going to service this part of market with these very, very, very specific core competencies. So I think that that's such a good point that we don't think about often enough, like the ability to say no. And it's hard, right? Like an entrepreneur, it's so hard to say, oh my gosh, someone might be giving you business, but I have to say no. That's got to be challenging. How do you find those core competencies, and how do you kind of harness that so that you can say no? Because that's a very challenging thing to ask people to do.
Definitely, I can walk you through a few examples. Even in the BPM links side of the house, and even on the Infinity 3 side of the house, I will take two examples to connect with what you just asked. In the BPM links, in the first year, 2016, 2017, 2018, first few years, we kept our strength on finance industry. My partners are extremely knowledgeable. Each one of them have 20 plus years of experience in financial sector, and that's the core, right? So we just went, and SunTrust was our first customer. We proved to them that we can survive in this industry, and banking and banking and financial sector is the most tough, because they are very cutting edge. They want high demanding. You have to be extremely smart and hardworking to survive in that industry, right? So we did that. Even though we did that, then in 2018, we thought we should diversify, because we don't want to just stick with only the banking, right? So at the time, knowing what I still know, we went around and chased a couple of, opportunities which we thought are good opportunities. We spend decent amount of time. We meet with people. A lot of our personal times are taken out. Family times are taken out. We go and meet these folks. We explain them. We spend so much time, energy, with nothing to show for. I heard one of your previous the things where you were going door to door. You that was amazing. When I heard that what you went through, I can relate that in a smaller sector in BPM links, we went there. And in mid 2018, we pulled back and said, we cannot chase everything. We got to be smart in what we're chasing. Then we decided within the finance, Bellargini is a fintech. Okay, this is something we can go. And some healthcare where our mobile banking we built for SunTrust and said, okay, these are Mobilify framework. We can do some mobile with Interpreta. And then we went and did with Mnemonics. So we added Net Insight. We became a little more smart in what we can go after. And I am the first one to go on the sales. I'm very little on the sales, but if I find some opportunity before I pull Gopi, Satya, or Zaki, my other partners, and other extremely talented folks like Kingsley and Dinesh in our team, we filter it out. We only address few which we want to do. Same thing when I went and did with Infinity 3. Patrick, Ken, and David are another set of extremely knowledgeable folks. And there also we said, okay, we got to filter. We cannot just boil the ocean. We need to understand what our cores are. We need to identify which client is at what stage. Sometimes they may need a solution, but the timing has to be perfect. And financial matters, sometimes their budgets are done with year end and you don't want to go and knock the door, but you want to socialize them. These things you have to put in an incubation period for 3 months, 6 months. They come back after a while, and you need to start sharing your successes with them. If you feel, we got some good testimonials from global CTO of PNC Bank, and then we kind of take that and tell other customers, hey, look, we have achieved something big in the Fortune 100 companies. We can do something magic or miracles for you, and we need to be able to express that clearly, and we need to stick with. We don't do ERPs. We don't go into infrastructure. We are strictly on the cloud, mobile, digital transformation, business process automation, or data analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. So we stick with within IT. We stick with and within the software, even the product sector, we stick with a small subset. So that is the success.
That's awesome. Although when you mention all those, it does sound like a huge undertaking. So we know that you do a lot. But another question, you mentioned a lot, you talked a little bit about your partners, and you talked about how important it is to find people who are different than you. And I will say, with myself and Tom, we see that all the time. And anybody who's ever sat in a boardroom with us knows that we spend probably at least 25% of the time arguing. Really, because we're trying to get to the right solution, and we do think so differently. And I agree that there's so often times that he brings up something that I would have never thought about because my brain just doesn't work like that. And so I've been very fortunate in that partnership, but I've also had partnerships that aren't so great, that you aren't surrounded by the best and you aren't in that position where you're really being able to work with each other. How have you been successful in finding partnerships and sustaining long-term partnerships?
The best thing is to understand from their point of view more than your point of view. You need to first and foremost put yourself in their shoes and see what they're saying. Not everything will turn out. Not everything I touch turn into gold. I lost a couple of ventures, somewhere from $250,000 to 100K. I'm able to live with that today. If you asked me this question 14 years ago, I would have been devastated, because that's a lot of money. And now, okay, I can take this money and take my chances. Yes, you run into partners sometimes, but it's better to know very early stages, what type of person and individual they are and how they are complementing. And if you want to go a separate path, it's better to sit and talk and iron it out and do a smooth transition than that of running around with the lawyers and the courts and other things. Fortunately, I have some experience of those, some experience of this. It makes you tougher. Let me put it that way. So yeah.
Good way to look at it. Yeah. Anurag and Hemantha, I just appreciate you guys watching, so thanks for being there. If anybody has any other questions, please let us know. A really big question that we have for you, Shaitu, coming from Bellargini is, when we were looking at working with BPM links, and just so you guys know, Bellargini and BPM links have a very close connection. So not only do they handle so much of our development work, I would say the vast majority, but they also are a major investor in Bill or Genie, and it's a huge blessing to have partners such as Shaitu who can talk to us strategically. We're a software application. We're in fintech, like you said, and it's great to be able to have someone that we can talk to who can help us with all this development and the road mapping and things like that. But a lot of people out there are not sure, and I know it was a hard decision for us as to what should you outsource and what should you keep in-house. And when you're working with companies like BPM or other companies like that, what is the best way to handle that?
Very, very good question, actually. So basically, what you need to do is you need to keep your core competence with you, and your business side of it, and the production support of the house always has to stay onshore, because your customers are here and you have to address them 24/7. So what you can offshore is something like a development where you have a proper architecture you already went through, and you have this architecture done, and then you take this architecture and then get the developers developed and get the testing done, and DevOps of cycles of moving the code into production through all the testing processes. You need to have a proper DevOps session, and to be successful in this aspect, you need to also have a strong team in the offshore too. The BPM heavily depends upon our offshore team, and most of the onshore offshore models fail because you don't have the receiving side listening or understanding the nature because of the customer. So you need to make sure you give that business knowledge as much as possible to your offshore team so that they can successfully understand, look your own customers as their customers, and then do the development. So to answer your question, we need to basically keep the core in the state side, production support on the state side, and offload the development and the testing into offshore.
Okay. When is a good time for a company to do that? Like, you've probably worked with companies at all parts of their succession, right? Some companies like Bill or Genie, very much a startup. Then you've got companies like SunTrust that have huge companies that have been around for forever. And I think that there's always this question. I'm sure there's a lot of people watching who have great ideas. They're looking to get into technology. They want to do some more development, and they're not really sure when is a good time to even start having these conversations with companies like BPM and companies like yourself.
It depends, right? Every company is different. So when you go to a large organizations, they must be already doing it. They have multiple partners. They're engaging because they're trillion-dollar asset banks. They do things differently. They have multiple partners like us. So they also look for companies like us for a core competency. They say, okay, BPM Link is strength in digital transformation, or mobile, or cloud. So we specialize in those areas. So they have those different aspects. When it comes to smaller startup companies, they may actually benefit more from us, because let me simply say, because for startups, the cost is very tight. You need to be very careful with your spending power. You need to balance your finances properly. So that's where BPM will be a lot more powerful, because classic example of Bill or Genie. We do high quality work for extremely low cost. But again, I don't want to sound like we are giving it away. But the charges or the prices we quote and the quality of work we do, we still be profitable. Of course, we have to be 30% profitable, or else we won't survive our own business. So we calculate our profitables accordingly, and you take care of your employees well, and you make sure they are properly trained. Learning and development happens, cross skills. The technology changes so fast. So for companies like smaller companies, they cannot afford to have a cybersecurity officer. They cannot afford to have a CTO, CEO, and all these big are much needed. The best practices are needed. But when we come along, we bring all those things for a very cost-effective way. So we empower you to go after what you're best at.
And one of the things that I'll say that from our experience with BPM Links and working with you and your team is, like you said, they're not only well-trained and cost-effective, but it's the strategy that's extremely helpful. So for all of the startups that are watching and thinking about development, I highly recommend talking to experts like Shaitu and other people who can help you with this. Because when you try to navigate, I need a developer here, I need a developer here, I need this, and I need DevOps, and I need a Scrum Master, and I need a person for QA, I need an SDET, and you have all of these acronyms, and you're trying to figure out who do I actually need when, and what is the strategy? What is that planning? What does that roadmap look like? I know that one of the biggest benefits that we've had in the BPM partnership isn't just that we have these fantastic developers. We love our team at BPM, but also the strategic impact on having people like yourself, Gopi, Zaki, Satya, who can come to our conversations at the management level and say, wait a second, you guys are doing this, but have you thought about trying it like this? Because we may have a vision of what Builder Genie looks like, but the nitty gritty part of the development, the amount of experience and information that the team has been extremely, extremely powerful. So I think that that's great. I think that those are great points as to why someone would have to go use an outsourced source.
Yeah, definitely. And even when we take up a project, we take our ownership. So it's not like, we just send some bodies with some pulse and they just work and done with it. We do a lot of gap analysis on the technology front, and we tend to periodically give it to our customers saying that, hey, here are the gap analysis, what you're seeing. And this is where you need to put your energy in. I know you got this thing covered very well. Cybersecurity is one of those things, and having a proper segregation of environments is one of those things. And technology stack, you need to go into microservices, so the scalability becomes important. How you leverage the cloud native services, because the Amazon and AWS, Amazon, Azure, and all these guys at Google, all these guys are providing you with a ton of services which are already pre-built, and you just need to call them and use them so that your coding time becomes reduced tremendously, but you get the powerful effect out of it. So those are the things which we need to take care of.
Okay. Guys, we only have a few minutes left, but if you guys have questions, please make sure that you're asking. We have really a tech genius on the line right now who's built so many companies and done it so well. And he's not just building companies, he is also giving back, he is investing, he's doing so much more. Shaitu, if you can tell us just a little bit of a personal thing. You've mentioned a couple times you came here as an immigrant, from the land of opportunity. I can very much relate to that. My parents moved here from India as well. I was actually born in London, so I'm not. I consider myself first generation, and we talk about this a lot. And there's a lot of things that I'm sure are very specific to that journey and to that plight that you've had. What for all of the people who are listening, watching, who may have had similar journeys, who are immigrants, who are coming to this, who are looking around saying, "Wow, what do I do now? I'm here. What do I do now? Or I'm trying to get here. What do I do now?" Do you have any advice for them?
I think for first and foremost, people have to go through their green card. So that's the biggest challenging for Indian community. Luckily, last month, more than 5 years of movement has taken place. You need to understand, while you're waiting for your green card to achieve, you need to build your technical knowledge and also look out for in every area, there is a tremendous of difference happening, meaning like Uber effects or Netflix effects. That's what I'm talking. So anywhere you look at it, there is a middleman. The minute you can eliminate the middleman with the technology, that's where the world is moving towards with the cloud offerings. So all these technologies, people who are coming here, or even people who are in India or around the world, basically look for everything what Uber has done, what Netflix has done, Airbnbs, all these social media companies. Basically, they eliminated middlemen and they brought the technology to the customer and the consumer together. So that is, there is still so much other areas, tremendous improvement, especially with the phones. You now everything is on your fingertips, and with the internet already, internet revolution. So look out for a new thing. This is I want to say it out loud. The new boom is already started, which is the data boom. So the data is the new asset. Data is the new oil. The snowflakes kind of proved that, affirmated that, right? So now you can see how you can spend your in data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Data is going to be the new boom. We saw the internet boom. We saw the cloud boom. The future is cybersecurity and data. The people who are listening in the IT folks, that's the future.
Well, thank you so much. Look, guys, if you guys are just tuning in and didn't hear all that, please make sure that you watch this recording. He has given us so much knowledge here. A few points that he's brought up that Chaithanya has been able to share with us is, as for new entrepreneurs, learn the word no. Make sure that you focus on your core values and you really hone in on those and really get successes there and build on those small successes until they snowball. The next thing that you spoke about was the importance of great partners who are different than you, that challenge you, that are subject matter experts that you can trust and look to and have those conversations and challenges with. And then you've talked about the importance of having both expertise as well as cost-effective solutions for outsourcing IT and what that really means. And of course, right now we're talking about the future and how data is that future. And we've been talking about big data and AI and all of that for quite a while now, but it does seem like it's becoming more and more part of life, and data is just everywhere, and people are paying big bucks for it. So I really appreciate your time. Does anybody have any other questions? Ken, we appreciate your comment. Anybody have any other questions? If not, the link for BPM Links is right at the bottom of the screen. Please check out our partner, Chaithanya. He will impress you like crazy with all of his strategic ability and his help with development and strategy and IT. So for all of our friends out there, we thank you for listening. And Chaithanya, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me, Garima. Thanks.
Absolutely.